Hey guys, I just wanted to do another little video on catasetums, and this time I'm going to be talking about dormancy again. I was inspired by a YouTuber I know, who's also on Facebook, Bennett Riley, who made a great video talking about catasetums recently, and I too had made one not too long ago, so I wanted to revisit it, and I highly suggest you guys check out his channel and videos as well, because his videos are really well put together. So without further ado, let's get started. So now is the time of year where you should start to see dormancy coming on in your plants. It may happen on some plants and not others, but generally about now you should start to at least see some signs of dormancy. Now that usually is like yellowing of leaves, usually starting at the bottom, although sometimes they'll just choose a leaf. And then before long you'll start losing leaves like this Catasetum has. Now, some of these plants might also be blooming about this time. Right about now, I would expect to see more Modes blooming, I believe. Cycnoches blooming. Cycnodes, which a lot of Cycnodes have been blooming a lot longer. My Wine Delight started blooming in August. Whereas I had a Catasetum Russ Wood, which is right over there right now. I had that Catasetum bloom in August as well, or September rather. And so my schedule for watering for these guys with dormancy is pretty simple. I feel when I want to have my water down by a third of normal amount, so it's 2/3 of normal amount rather, and by October 31st or Halloween. This is because the light has been reducing for a while, the temperature is going down, and these plants have been mature for a while. So I will cut my water back by a third by Halloween. Now by Thanksgiving I want to have it down by another third or so. So have it at just a third of the normal amount. By this point a lot of my catasetums are either dormant or almost dormant, getting there. And so we should see a lot of these green leaves here yellow by the time I revisit this later. And I want to be completely done with watering by Christmas. Now a lot of my plants might be fully dormant well before Christmas, and I will account for them in that and water them as if they need it. But for the most part, I will be done watering by Christmas. Now I will also be done fertilizing by Halloween as well, because when the bulbs mature, they're no longer actively growing, they're not actively rooting, they don't need so many nutrients, so I will cut the fertilizer off entirely by Halloween. Now when they're blooming, like you see these two are here, this is a Monariara Millennium Magic Witchcraft, same focus, and a Galliandra Leptoceras. Now both of these obviously, as you can see, are in active bloom, and Wine Delight is in bud. Now these, even though like Wine Delight's over here, has been shedding, as has Millennium Magic, I still water them pretty frequently. I keep in mind that they are shedding and going dormant, so I will water them less than usual. But I will still water them a bit more than, let's say, another orchid in the same stage, but not in bloom. And so I just got them scattered about in here. So I've got an exciting one as well. This is the 2019 project plant for high desert orchids. Real nice cross. And now with something like this, when you see a plant that has like these little shoots like that, if it's mature and it's about to go dormant, you don't worry about these little growths. They're not substantial, they will not have enough time to grow. Worry about the main growth that would flower for you and produce the growth next year. That's the one you want to prioritize when it comes to multi-growth plants. Now, if they grow one bulb and then mature another after that, that's one thing. Because I had my Catasetum Frilidoris, which is dormant up in the apartment right now, which we will go visit soon. It matured a giant bulb in midsummer, and then started another one. So I got two nice big bulbs this summer. Now when it comes to dormancy, two of the main triggers are temperature and light. I tend to prioritize light and have had luck with that, but you may find that temperature does better for yours. But this is in regards to falling temperatures, especially at night, and reduction in day length. And so those are factors that you need to keep in mind. If you're not seeing dormancy, try putting it in a different spot and seeing what happens. They might just need a more temperature change, or they might need more light change. It could be any of those things. Now, when it comes to dormancy, or what I mean is, when it comes to dormancy, you will want to be very careful about your watering. You shouldn't be watering at all for the most part, but if you live in a dry climate, like I used to, I live in Houston area now and it's very humid, you will want to give your catasetums a little bit of water in the winter. You won't really only want to do it when it starts to shrivel, because if they shrivel too much, that would set them back in the spring. Now, a little bit of shriveling is normal and expected. But if they shrivel really badly and the bulb gets like deformed and it just gets real ugly looking, you've waited too long, and you should give them a little bit of a drink. Some people will mist the top of the media and the bulbs. I tend to just give them a little bit of run under the sink, just to get the moss a little bit damp, and then pull them back. Because during active growth, you're soaking them. You want them really to stay moist all the time, whereas during dormancy they should be dry, but low humidity means that they will shrivel a lot more easily, and you need to give them a little bit of a drink. Humid areas like me, I generally don't have to unless we have a really, really dry set of days, but otherwise I don't need to do any of that. So these are all in various stages of dormancy here, or growth and dormancy. This Catasetum here has already shed a couple leaves, and it's starting to yellow some of these other ones as well at the ends. So this one I've cut back watering about a third or so now that we've passed Halloween. I will be dramatically reducing the water towards Thanksgiving as well. Whereas this Dentigrianum is barely showing any signs at all, and so I'm watering this one about normally still. I let it dry out a little bit, so a little bit less watering, but not as much. Whereas this Millie's Philly Dragon cross here is barely doing anything. It's just now starting to yellow, so I'm reducing the water, but I haven't quite reached a third. Now, when I said that schedule, I of course meant it relative, because not all your plants are going to react the same. Some of them will go dormant way early. Some of them super late. I have had some go dormant in January, others in September or even August. So it's just listen to the plant and react accordingly to the plant. But a general guideline schedule would be 2/3 of normal watering by Halloween, 1/3 by Thanksgiving, and none by Christmas. And that's just a general schedule. Something to keep in mind there. Now let's fast forward to the apartment while I will take a look at the dormant plants and continue this talk. So here we are up in the apartment. These are the few that are pretty much dormant. The only two that have leaves are in this bin here, and they're just one leaf apiece. But I'll show you what they are and then talk about what I'm doing with them and why they're up here. So this one is Catasetum frilidoris. This is the biggest Catasetum I have right now, like bulb count wise. It's got 7. This one is, and I've actually got 3 of them up here. 3 of these. These are the 2018 High Desert Orchids project plants. This one was my first one. And then I got 2 more. This one here and this one. And then this one is a Catasetum. This is Catasetum Alexandra Seva, Rebecca Northern, crossed on Denticulatum. And so as you can see, these 3 here are completely dormant. Sorry, I'm trying to keep the blinds out of the curtains out of the way. And this thing doesn't hold them far enough back, unfortunately. So these went dormant rather early, and it surprised me. But this one had bloomed before I got it. And this one hadn't yet, and this one hasn't yet. Whereas these 2 are just about dormant, and they're finishing up with their leaves. They've just got 1 left apiece. Now, I brought them up here to help keep them drier so I can water the greenhouse a little bit more freely in the winter. But also so I can experiment with them a little bit. Because this window gets some good light, but it also gets cooler influence because it's a window, and we're going to have those cool winter days. And so I wanted to see how they handle up here. Now, when I want to talk about with the wrinkling, like these are some older bulbs. I've been watering these a little bit to keep, because I've been focusing on these bulbs. These bulbs have always been wrinkled for quite some time, even when it was green. And then you can see they've got lots of roots. Well, these plants have lots of roots. Although these roots are going to basically almost, some of them die off in the winter, in the dormancy period, and that's normal. They still, in nature, they will still hold fast to whatever surface they're growing on, but they won't be active roots anymore. They won't be good for sucking up water. But you can see that they're not really bad because these new mature bulbs are nice and plump. Now this one, I think something happened to the previous bulb, so it got removed. But even this one, it's nice and plump, not a wrinkle to be seen. And on this one, the new bulb is also nice and plump, so as are these new bulbs here. So some wrinkling on older bulbs like this is normal. That generally happens in the spring when they're starting growth, because you don't water them in the spring until the growth is a certain height and the roots have grown out a certain length. And then you start slowly watering them again. But they're up here so I can keep them drier and I can keep a better eye on them. And who knows, it might even be a good environment to get some spikes, because the catasetums and cloizias will spike in the winter or late fall generally, I'm told. And so that one might still spike, as could this one. Whereas Philodorus, I believe, would have spiked a while ago if it was going to. And this one, well, it's another Catasetum. So this will be an experiment that I'll be sure to update you guys on. But I just want to keep them out of the greenhouse for now. It's still fairly humid in here, but it's pretty dry because it is a house. So I might have to water these a little bit over dormancy. But they're gonna stay up here for a while. I'm gonna see how they do. Because I didn't want to have an area of the greenhouse where I had to avoid getting water. So I figured I'd bring them up here. So anyway, I hope this video helps some of you. And if not, you can you could feel free to ask any questions in the comments below or on the post I will share this to. And I would be happy to answer them and talk to you about them, because every situation is different. So some people in the north might have had their plants go dormant a lot sooner than, let's say, mine down in Texas. So don't fret if you see other people's plants doing something. Your plants might not be at that stage yet, and that's okay. It's just the way that the plants are in the different regions of the country and even the world. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I do hope it was helpful to some of you. Be sure to check out Bennett's video as well and see what he's got going over there. Thank you guys for watching.